the 991 class, Alex Oughton, in the MRS 991 Cup class car. As John said, Tom Dillman going great guns, but a lap behind it, and that is only a lap behind in the 991. In terms of time, he is, the interval is, it's a minute and a half, so he's just on the same lap as the car immediately ahead of him. That's Lionel Amrouche in the Lorient Racing Porsche, number 912. So he's just on the same lap as that car, but he is a lap behind the class leader. So they do have their work cut out, but seemingly the car working well now, and therefore will be able to continue to go, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to go at the pace that they're going at the moment. The Webheads Porsche, but certainly MRS leading the way. Haven't put a wheel wrong either with the 980 car. It's all right to do that with Porsches. Porsches are such solid cars. Especially the 991 Cup class cars. I mean, you've said yourself, John, that it's a good car to run in this kind of a series.
It's I reckon, pound for pound, euro for euro, dollar for dollar, I think it's one of the best things you can go and do. Now, it's not an easy car to drive, so if you want an easy ride, don't pick that car. No traction control, no ABS, although there is an ABS option on the car, so it can be done. It can be done.
And air conditioning is optional as well, I think, in conditions like this. But good to see so many 991 class cars in the race this year. I think we counted 10 of them altogether in the class at the start. No, 6 of them altogether in the class at the start. That's right, we were just over the threshold to get the extra point because we eventually did get 6 starters, so 6 cars starting in the 991 class. In the A6 Pro class, we had 5 started. A6 AM has 5 starters. SPX, very well populated indeed, with 5 cars in SPX. And I think the class that has been the disappointment so far has been the GT4 class, which through, I say, no fault of its own really, but we seem to have lost the Pro Sport Performance Aston Martin. We also seem to had a big delay on the Hoffer Racing BMW with a suspension repair required after the first lap of that car, and then the 451 Zorg Rennsport car, the 451 is the car with the beer sponsorship. Forgot what it is now, but we did talk about that earlier on. That's had problems as well and has fallen down. So the only untroubled GT4 car has been the 415, the white car with the psychedelic car. That's the Misbach-driven Orchid Racing Porsche, which is in 26th place overall. R980 in the pits at the moment, so the leading 991 class car, already having lost the lead of the class, so close is it. So Alex Oughton receiving fuel, and Lionel Amrouche takes the Lorient Racing Porsche into the lead therefore.
At the front of the field, it is still the 77, Dennis Lind. He's just put a lap on the number 22, Henrik Steele, Wochenspiegel, Team Monschau. Lamborghini Huracan leads from Barwell then. And this has been a very impressive hour and a half for Barwell, and particularly for Dennis Lind, as he's taken every opportunity, and even though it didn't actually go exactly as they wanted, then they have made the best of it, and the best is a 27-second lead to Herbert Motorsport in second. Stuart Hall back up into third now. And we're about to turn and complete the 200th lap. And that'll be completed at the end of this one.
as I say, the rate we're going, 200 laps completed in 6.5 hours, should see us well over 700 by the end of the race. So there he goes across the line now, ticks up the 200th lap as Dennis Lind, car number 77, very much the signature, let's call it the totem pole of the Barcelona circuit, that big Bank tower, which
yes, the timing tower
gives you the race positions for the top 20 cars, is it?
And then they cycle through the others after that, so they can cycle all the way down. It's a very American thing, that, normally.
Yes. Brands Hatch used to have one on the inside of Clearways.
We had one at Rockingham, and I think it even worked a couple of times, to be honest.
Yes, indeed. So as Indianapolis has the most famous of those scoring towers, but yes, very much a feature of the Barcelona pit lane is that very large scoreboard. But as John says then, Dennis Lind continuing to go away, and he's kind of done a double stint. He did a 35-minute stint before coming in for what wasn't a Code 60 stop, but which might have been a Code 60 stop.
A bit of a yellow flag stop.
As Mark has informed me, they had to come in anyway because they had a faulty refueling hose previously. And Dennis has a maximum of half an hour still to drive in the car, and the fuel will take him 6:45. The fuel won't take him that far, actually, even though it was a full tank they got. I think he'll probably be able to go for about 20 minutes, would be my guess at it. The lap completed, and now pulling away from Hendrick still in the Wochenspiegel car. You just said he'd lapped him. He's now put 3 laps on the Wochenspiegel Ferrari. And Vincent Kolb in the 93 Porsche, Herbert Porsche, he's back in that car. He was the one who started that car, remember, and he is also 3 laps behind the race leader.
Well, we're half an hour away from the next update, so let's take a look at the class leaders. Synchro Motorsport Honda FK8 Civic, Union flag on the roof. Currently leading with Alan James behind the wheel of that car. 33rd in the overall, and in its part of the race, that puts it in 12th position, the TCE Series, and crucially at the moment that would give Dan Wheeler and Alan James the overall title championship. And we're going to go full course yellow, we're going to go full purple, code 60. Harry Hildis in the number 101 has had heavy contact with the wall, and the Red Camel Jordan NL car has looped it coming out of Repsol, dropped its wheels onto the left-hand side of the circuit, and then speared across into the tyre wall. The tyre wall's deranged on the run down to turn 5. Driver's left. Really odd one, that. And Shea Adam joins me.
Tire marks seem to tell a story, John, as if he perhaps got too much curb and then lost the rear end over the curbing.
Front-wheel drive car. Should have been able to pull himself straight. Harry is out of the car.
Is he?
Yeah. The door has been opened and closed, and Harry has left the scene, is what I'm being told. Let's see. I think he's still in the car.
I think he is too.
I think he's still in the car, to be honest. Yeah, he's still in the car, but he's put his thumb up to the marshals and to the onboard camera. So still in the car. And Harry Hildis, well, the good news is Harry I think he wants to get it started and drive it, and I think they're going to have to tell him that that's not going to happen, Harry.
Well, in fairness, it does look a lot better from the inside than it does on the outside, John.
Looks perfect from the inside. Yeah. Barely any problem at all for him there.
What a heartbreak. This is the car that Luke and Ivo Brukers were sharing for this race, and Luke very excited about the prospect of a 24-hour race. For it to end like this, That's just not what we were hoping for.
We'll grab some interviews from Andre down in the pit lane in a moment, and hopefully that Harry's been on the radio to the team and we can get a little bit of news about what we think might have happened there. Very odd indeed, coming out of turn 4 at Repsol last year. Front-wheel drive car, you wouldn't have expected it to spear back across the track. The fuel station is already full, and the leader has got in and out of the fuel station. So there's the first thing that Mark Lemmer would have been interested in.
So we have one fuel pump open right now, and people are continuing to cycle around past. One person could come into the pit lane. I don't like the way that the floorboard came up on that number 1 Red Camels Jordan.nl. Cupra it's now dragging back and serving as a lawnmower or a plow, anti-plow, because it's collecting gravel instead of pushing it out of the way. Barwell is into the pit box. They are doing full service driver change as the door is open, and 4 new Hankooks. I can see the stickers from all the way up here. You really do have a great view in this comms box, John, as they are completing the service. And let's see, driver change looks like it is the longest part of this. The TCR Championship leader is in the penalty box. That's AC Motorsports in their Audi.
And they're in the penalty box, serving a penalty at the moment. Andrew is in the pit lane.
And most people are actually driving straight through and not taking new tyres. It's just the way that this purple 60 fell. But obviously the Lamborghini is, but the CP Racing Mercedes just drove past me, as did a couple of the other front runners, including the 93 car. So I can see the 88 car collection car is getting ready to put some new Hankooks on. So that's a funny thing. Paul's just away at the moment, but to explain things a little bit, it's very, very difficult if this full course caution, as we call it in some places, happens just at the wrong time when you're in your tyre cycle, John.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And we've got 6 cars in the fuel station now, including the 11, the Bohemia Scuderia Praha Ferrari. They are in for fuel at, let's see, that's the 4th pump. So we need to look and see which pump gives them a faster stop, because they were talking about earlier they went to one pump that they weren't pleased with. Looking from the body language.
We've heard that from the Ferrari and from Barwell, to be honest.
Yes, and Barwell stopped for their stop. I believe they were also at pump number 4, John, so perhaps that is the best one. As people figure out the little nuances. The car collection, the bright orange Audi R8, they've taken up your strategy from when you drove with the factory Aston Martin program back at Circuit of the Americas in 2017. They have taken the final pump as the Mark car comes into the pit lane. That's the Coroisa Racing, and they are stopping at pump number 5, which means we only have one pump open yet again. And is that going to be filled by a BMW? Let's wait and see if they take the hard right-hand turn. Nope, no fuel for them.
Vortex serving a penalty as well there, Shea. Good to see that car back out again. As in has come the car collection number 88, getting full service. Andrew is there.
Got a quick driver change going on here. You hear the rattle guns going. It's a bright orange car, and it's Pierre Caffer who just got out of that machine. And maybe I can get a word with him in a moment. He strode very purposely to the back of the garage. Meanwhile, number 11, they are putting Matteo into the Scuderia Praha, and that's going to be really flying, isn't it, after this pit stop? So all happening down here. Just see that there's a Vortex going by. The 869 BMW passes us, and car collection are just going to fire up and see if I can, and doesn't get out in front of Ferrari as I thought it might. So those two cars going down the pit lane. Let's see if I can find Pierre Caffer. See, he's got his crash helmet off, and see what he's got to tell us. Hang on a second, guys, just be a moment. He's right at the back of the garage here.
Never fails, does it, Andrew?
Yeah, no. Pierre's just sort of getting Pierre to the front of the garage.
Just an update, Andrew, while you're...
He's getting the right hat on.
Just right while you're doing that, Andrew, just an update on Harry Hilders. He is now out of the number 101 car. He's standing, he's talking to the medics, he's checking his helmet and all his bits and pieces to make sure everything's okay and the car's being pushed off the track. Be a couple of laps tops now. They're just trying to get the gravel off the circuit on the run down from turn 4 to turn 5. Back to Andrew with Pierre Caffer.
Indeed, yes, for this year's Nürburgring 24, our winner, Pierre Caffer. Pierre, how was that session? I think the track was a bit better than when it was hotter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the track grips up a little bit. I have to say it's my first 24-hour race here in Barcelona. It's really nice to drive here. I liked it very in the past with my DTM times and my Porsche Super Cup times. And with the GT3, with the R8, it's just a pleasure to drive here.
And of course you're helping some amateur drivers, aren't you? You're thinking about and telling them things, what to learn about the track.
Yes, but I think they know it quite well. But I try to support with the car, and also before it was not clear if it starts to heavy rain or not. So I think the rain just missed us by a bit. And that's why I was driving then, in case it's heavy raining.
Pierre Caffer enjoying his racing after 25 years, I think, Pierre, isn't it?
Yes. It's really nice to be here.
Thank you very much, Pierre Caffer.
25 years, Andrew. He's still a band to me. He's still a kid. He's now one of the elder statesmen and a great guy to speak to. Very interested in.
91 has just come in.
Okay, that's the lead that has come in out of the lead. Leonid Matsitsky is in the 77 car. That was the lead. That was the leader before this set the step, and that car's getting fuel again.
Yeah, that car was just in, so that should be a fuel-only stop for the Barwell Lamborghini. Also,
but why didn't it? Because
it can only fill halfway.
It's getting the other half of the tank.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's fine.
No,
that's fine.
Unpanicked, both of us, because we were both having the same reaction there, John. Also in the GPX Porsche, out of third place, Stuart Hall. He's been in that car a very long time because I've been stalking that pit box to see when he would finally get out. So that will be a driver change there, and that should be full rotation, unless I'm mistaken. So that should be the South African getting back in. Andrew?
Yeah, I've got Daniel Alleman, favourite Swiss driver from Herbert. You came out of the car with a very big smile on your face.
We like race. We like race. Yeah.
Everything fine with the car at the moment?
Everything's fine, and the tactic is also okay. We have a full tank. Everything's good. Yeah.
What about the track itself? It's quite dirty in places now.
It's quite dirty, yeah. It's quite dirty. It's dangerous to drive in some places, but it's race, yeah.
What is your plan now for the rest of going into the night? Are just doing one stint each?
One stint each every year, through the night, yeah.
Usual Herbert way of doing it.
Yeah, we do it, yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, he's won the race before, so I wonder if they can do it again.
Might be worth having a wander down to Praha team, Andrew. We've been monitoring a bit of radio chat from the Matteo Malicelli. Now, Matteo is not always the brightest. He's a bit of a glass half empty guy, to be honest, but he's been having a long chat with the engineers about the car, so there may be an issue down there, and Josef Kral is having an animated conversation as well. Let's go down to Andrew and see what we can find out. It's Joseph who's been having the conversation, excuse me, not Matteo.
It's Joe, you've been talking to your engineers. Have you got a problem with the car now?
Well, a little bit, like a cosmetic one, let's say, because unfortunately we have a movable pedals in the front, not like seating like in a regular car, but like a pedal box which is supposed to be moving, but unfortunately it's not, and it's stuck in a position for Matteo. It's a little bit uncomfortable at the moment, I think, but he's trying to solve it during the code 60, so hopefully it will be fine, but it's a little bit stress now at the moment.
So that means your knees are up by your ears.
They will be, definitely, after the next stint when Matteo will come in, then we have another issue.
It's very difficult to drive it with an uncomfortable position like that.
Definitely it is, especially in this warm temperatures, in this heat. It's quite demanding on the legs. So when you don't have a good position for the legs, you may have cramps. So we need to solve this before the next driver goes in.
Do you think you've got the same speed as the Porsches?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it looks better, but sometimes we struggle a little bit. It depends how we how we set the pressures in the tires. At the moment for Mainstein it was pretty bad, I have to say, so we're trying to really improve it and to get to the rhythm which we need and which we usually have. This time it's a little bit not as we wish.
And of course we've got the Lamborghini in the mix this time as well.
Yes, they are fast. We were expecting them, that they will be fast. So, well, it's nice racing and it's still long, so we hope that we will solve everything and we get the speed back and we fight back.
Thank you very much. Joseph's English is very good, but that's because he spent a year racing in Formula BMW in the UK.
Yes.
I remember that. Did the commentary on that on the British Touring Car Championship. On the British Touring Car Championship supports. Good lad he is, and his driving has really come on the last couple of seasons. And
he was destined for Formula One, if you remember.
Yes,
the
he was.
HRT team was going to be in that seat, and then the team went bankrupt. So we could have known Joseph Kral's name in a bigger fashion. The rest of the world could have, certainly, at the very least. And he's hoping at the end of tomorrow afternoon he'll be celebrating as a champion of this series.
Andrew?
HRT, of course, was his Spanish racing team. So it was a Spanish operation, but sadly it wasn't really well funded, and it changed the ownership halfway through their, I think, first and only year in Formula One. So Joseph Kral, I don't think would have had a great season with them if they carried on, to be honest.
Still, to have raced in Formula One, that's something that drivers want on their CVs, even if it's not in the World Championship winning car. Although, certainly they would prefer that.
That said, there's a few drivers who toddled round at the back of a grid who don't like to be reminded of that.
Very true.
No, I'm serious. You know, and I say exactly the same thing. Oh, but come on, you made it to Formula One. Yeah, but I didn't race in Formula One. I just drove round at the back.
Yeah,
is
that's
what
true.
one driver said to me. And I thought, oh, right, okay, fair play. Fair play.
We've got two significant Porsches in the fuel station right now, John. The 91 has come back in. That's the Herberth Motorsport Porsche that was taken over by Ralph Bone. And the 24 GPX Racing Porsche. They came in from third position. Stewie Hall brought it in. And it is Jordan Greger, the South African driver, who took back over. So now they've gone through their entire rotation. But they are also in topping off this fuel tank. So the leader once more, in terms of where they are on track right now, is that 77 Barwell Lamborghini. And for the first time in today's race, it's Mr. Maticius who's behind the wheel of the car. So that is another noticeable difference. Also out on track, do want to give a shout out to the Orchid Racing team, because 415, it's the only one left right now in that category in the poor, what is it?
GT4.
GT4 class. It has been a pretty rough day for them, but Lawrence Mischbach, who is now driving that car, he was standing in the garage being told, you're going to get in the car, you're going to get in the car, you're going to get it. He had his head sock on, he had his fire suit completely done up, and he was pacing back and forth while frantically waving a program at his head because he was overheating. And finally the team came back to him and said, nah, we called off the driver change. So he was ready to go about 40 minutes before he actually got behind the wheel of that Porsche. And now he's driving around at 60 clicks. He's got to be overheating even more. That can't help.
But to be honest, it's a great way to get into the race, because you've got time to get yourself settled, you've got time to get your belts done up, the car's full of fuel, so you didn't have to worry about getting in and out of the fuel station. And I'll say exactly the same about Leonid Mazitsky for Barwell. I like this move. I absolutely like this move, because they're not gaining any time, but they're not losing any time either. 10 minutes to go before we complete another racing hour. I think we'll be back to green by then. There's still a bit of work going on the tyre wall to driver's left, coming out of turn 4 and heading down towards turn 5. So time for another interview from Andrew.
Yeah, somebody we haven't spoken to before, Michael Bong, runs a very good team, of course, in Germany, mainly at the Nürburgring, and they're actually doing a disc change. Michael, enjoying not racing at the Nürburgring, but racing here in Spain?
Yeah, racing in Spain is great. It's great.
You're doing your rotor change, your disc brake change now. Seems a bit early.
Sorry.
A bit early to do the change with the discs.
Yes, no. In this moment, it's code 60. It's a good time for change the brakes.
Very good. You run a big team in Germany, don't you? You run a lot of cars in Germany.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, I think 10 cars or 12 cars.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Why have you come to Creventic Racing?
Well, it's nice racetracks. It's nice from the peoples. It's great. It's fun.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have Bonk Motorsport with us this season. Thank you very much. Quick thinking.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if you get a chance to speak to any of those guys again, Andrew, what they think about the BMW M240, which is the car that they've been racing for many years in various forms. A car that was built for Cup 5, effectively, in the VLN and at the Nürburgring 24. It's about to be replaced. It's in its last year. It's got an extra year of homologation. They've optimised the engine electronically and done a few aero changes on that car. And there is a new entry-level car coming from BMW M Sport. So it'd be interesting to know what they've heard about it or whether they've seen the new car. Now, we were, just before we're going to go, before we went to full course purple, we were going to go through all the leaders in class. So we might want to do that again, actually, while we've got a few moments. There's still a bit of clean-up going on down there. So let me quickly run through them for you. In A3, it's still the Synchro Motorsport Alan James driven Honda. In SP3, in SP3, it's the KTM Crossbow RTR Project, the 224 car. Eric Yanis at the wheel. Andy Burry is leading TCR in the 131 Top Car Sport with Baz Kooten Cupra. In GT4, it's the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport, and that's the Orchid Racing Team and Laurent Misbach running in first position in that class. In SP4, it's Nordschleife Racing with the JS2R, Guillaume Romain.
Only one in their class.
They are literally in a class of their own,
Yep.
yes. That's done well, that car. Hasn't missed a beat so far. SP3, RTR we mentioned, TCR we mentioned. TCR, by the way, if you put the two different championships together, Andy Burry is in 16th position, which is a really good run for the TCR leader. 991 Cup class is, at the moment, first and second are Gen 2 cars. Porsche Lorient Racing, Lionel Amarouche in the 912 has about half a lap of a lead on the second place Race Union. That's the 980, and it's Andreas Gulden at the wheel. Then Team Webhead's in third with Jem Littman back behind the wheel again in third. He's another lap or so further back. In SPX, first and second, it's Johannes Stuck for the 216 and 217. Is Saidi Samini for the second of the car. So 216 and 217 there, and they, I think, have got a couple of laps between them. Yes, they have. And then as far as A6 is concerned, and this is all inside the top 10, in fact, all of the top 10 are A6 GT3 cars. A6 Arm Herbert Motorsport, Vincent Korb is behind the wheel of the 93 car in 5th position, and our overall leader and A6 Pro leader, Leonid Maciejewski, in the 77 Lamborghini Huracan. That's how all of our classes stand at the moment. The clear up on the track is nearly done. The problem is that the tyre wall that protects the 3-layer arm core to driver's right, it's in an interesting position because there's a concrete wall not 5 yards further down the track towards turn 4 that's got no protection on it at all. But the tyre wall in front of the arm core refuses to stand back up again. And every time the two tractor units get in there, there's a little Kubota and a bigger forklift tractor type of thing.
Thingy.
Every time it tries to lift it up, it just falls over again. Now they're working together.
Well, and the little one pops wheelies every time it gets enough force going and then starts spinning the rear wheels as well. So it's a bit like when dominoes fall over and then one of them stops falling over and then you have to be really careful to try and pick up without knocking the rest down.
What they're trying to do is put tyre wraps or something through the tyre stacks so that the rest of the track services team can hold up one end while the tractors go down and try and lift the others.
The other problem is with the marshals that are actually out on the circuit trying to get the stones that have been dragged across the racetrack to clear off. Andrew mentioned yesterday that he was going to take some of them home to actually put in his garden. They're big stones. They don't blow away easily.
We haven't heard from Stuart Hall in this race, and I can't believe that with already 7 hours gone in 3 minutes' time that we haven't heard from Stuart. Let's put that right now. Here's Andrew, who's down in the GPX pit.
Yeah, Stuart, you had a big double stint, I think, there, and got some very good times, as I noticed.
Yeah, no, the car's running well. We lost that crucial lap at the start when we had a bit of an iffy fuel stop. So it's just a question of now just pushing like hell just to try and get back on the lead lap. We're only a lap adrift now. Car feels really good. You know, it's nice to double stint. You know, it's great. It's good fun out there. You know, can't wait to get back in a few hours.
So you think you really could be in a shout with this, do you?
I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that, Andrew. You know, we come here to win. Everyone comes here to win. It's not easy. It never is. But there's 17 hours to go, and we're a lap adrift, so we've got a little bit of work to do. But you know, everyone's doing a good job. You know, Geordie's going well, Nicky's going well, and young Benji, my little protege, what a job! 16 years old, first 24-hour race in a GT3 car. He's just doing fantastic as well. So you know, we're in a hunt, we're pushing, we're fighting. Looking forward to the dark now. I love racing in the dark, so looking forward to that, and hopefully be speaking to you in a few hours with a bigger smile on my face.
Now, of course, you've got a bit of a fan club here. Your wife's here, your baby daughter's here, and she's been watching you. Oh, she's just gone now. That's a shame. And she seems to be really enjoying it. How old is she?
She's 3. Just got that excited. She wet herself, bless her. But you know.
Do we need to know this?
Takes after her dad. No. You know, they come everywhere with me. You know, it's you know, I think, you know, racing's my life, and I want to share it with them. You know, the missus does an amazing job, keep holding the fort whilst I'm here. So, you know, we're a little team, and hopefully we can get a result and you know, prove that hard work's worthwhile.
Excellent. Great words from Stuart Hall. It is his life. I first reported on him racing when he was 15 years old in the T-Car series, which I'm pretty sure you won, Stuart.
I did, yeah. No, it was a long time ago. It's nearly 20 years ago now. I'm 35 in, don't say that, I'm 35 in October, 20 years ago. So, you know, I've had a wonderful career. I'm still loving every second of it, and long may it continue.
Excellent. That's Stuart Hall. He was, of course, a world champion in GT-AM about 4 years ago with Aston Martin.
That he was.
Well, we're nearly there. We're under full course yellow at the moment, and I'm afraid to have to give some bad news here from motorsport further afield. Not the first time I've had to do that while we've been here at the Circuit de Catalunya. The reigning GP3 Series champion Anthony Hubert has died after a crash in the series, the F2 race at Spa-Francorchamps. Giuliano Alesi lost control of his car going up through Eau Rouge and spun out of control at Radion. He was then hit at high speed by Sauber Junior driver Juan Manuel Correa at the exit of Radion, and then succumbed to his injuries, I'm afraid, 18:35 local time, just after an hour after the accident. Correa was being taken to hospital, stable condition. Alesi released from the medical centre. Anthony Hubert has won a couple of races in F2 this season. At Ricard and Monaco was 8th in the championship, and the series second highest placed rookie in the standings. and he was in line to take a top F2 drive next year. He's the son of a French national rally driver, Francois, and won the F4 championship in his first season. We obviously extend our condolences to everyone who knew Anthony and everyone in the F2 paddock. So let's take a look at the standings here with another hour completed, and we'll start with TCE, and it is the 131 Cupra TCR that leads that. SP3 leader is in second place, so Baz Kooten Racing ahead of RTR Projects, KTM Crossbow, the top two in the Touring Car Endurance Series. Then Autorama, then Baporo, then Autorama in third and fourth. Those are both TCR cars. Top five is another TCR. We haven't mentioned TTC Racing too much. We should get a word with those guys. Really well-organised team. Perfection Racing Europe are in sixth. That's the second of the SP3 cars, the Ginetta number 345. And making up the top 10 is the best of the Year 3 cars. That is the Synchro Motorsport 676 Honda. Outside the top 10 in TCE, there have been some problems. 11th position, AC Motorsport. Vincent Rademacher back behind the wheel of the number 188 Audi. See if that car can fight its way back into contention. But those, as I say, outside the top 10 have all had their issues, including Munkoff Racing down there at the bottom, who that 310 car had been on pole position, remember, for the TCE and battling hard earlier on. Good news is that the Peugeot 308 is still running around. Nordschleifer Racing doing a good job there. In GT, let's have a look at the front of the field as the clean-up continues after the Harry Hilders accident. Barwell have almost... have they got a lap on the field? No, they might have, just. As Barwell go through, Ralph Bowen's gone through. Yes, they have. They've got a lap on the field now with Herbert Motorsport in second place, the 91 car. Then Jordan Groger, the South African driver just installed into GPX's Porsche, in third. Matteo Malicelli for Bohemia Energy, champions-elect in fourth position. The rest of the top 10, all of the top 10 now A6 cars, and Herbert Motorsport lead the A6 AM, although only second in the A6 Pro. If we go outside of the top 10, we'll see some more class leaders. The two KTM GTXs doing really fine work. 11th and 12th for those development cars. So in 11th position, Johannes Stuck for KTM leads SPX with their team car. In second place, the 217. 991 category in 13th position, their leader, Porsche Lorient Racing 991. That's the Gen 2 car. GT4 is the car that I was looking for there. There's the SPX third position car down in 17th position. And the bottom end of the top 20, Orchid Racing, is the surviving GT4 car. The other cars outside the top 20, Oyster Racing, Vortex, Sorgren Sport, and the 451 car. All of these cars have had problems. GT4 in particular has suffered heavily, particularly when it was warm earlier on. And we've not seen the Aston Martin number 1 back on the track yet. So all of the cars towards the bottom end of the top 20 there have had problems. Mentioned the GT4 leader, Orchid Racing. Andrew Marriott is down there as our leader after 7 hours is still Barwell Motorsport. Andrew?
Yes, Orchid Racing, of course, a new team to us, a Swiss team. One of the cars out, but the other one running okay. But just look at their garage. Look, it is carpeted from the very pit lane right to the very back of it, all in black carpet. I don't know if these guys are in the carpet business or something, but it feels so nice underfoot. And I just dive in here. She doesn't want to be here. Who's going to talk to me about your lovely carpet? Why have you got such a nice carpet?
Because we have a nice car.
So do you do this at every race you go to?
Yes.
Oh, look.
Mr. Sleep.
He's lying down, he's enjoying it. But it does make it easier to work, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. It's easier to work and it's more clean.
Yes. And how are you enjoying Creventic? Of course, you're new to this series.
Yes.
You usually race in Switzerland or in a Swiss championship.
Yes, Switzerland, yeah, Geneva. And yes, it's a really nice event. And it's the first time for us. And we are really enjoying to be here. We hope to have another event like that.
So you're the team manager, yes?
Yes, with Richard Feller, we are both too. So
very good. Well, we love having you here. Oh, we love your carpet too.
Well, that's a cut above that, isn't it? I mean, it's a Formula One track, and we often see tiles being put down and painted floors. There's some Red Bull logos further down the pit lane, but actually carpeting your garage, that's one up. Never mind your marble floors for Formula One. A bit of carpet, that's what you need.
Well, it's part of the reason I haven't actually stepped into their garage yet. I've always talked to them on the pit lane because I don't have anywhere to wipe my feet before I go step into their garage, but they have another car under a Porsche car cover sitting in the garage, elevated up high, and you just sort of really want to go over and make sure that there's something underneath the car, because clearly it sustained some damage this weekend, John, and that's the reason why it's not running. You just want to make sure it's not going to drip onto that nice carpet, because it is very pretty. Barrier repairs continue, so the tire bundles are slowly but surely being uprighted, and a third tractor has now been welcomed into the party to try and help the tires that fell over in almost a domino style stand back up, as the little one is sort of holding them in place while the bigger ones are now pushing them back up.
Yeah, this is taking too long, I'm afraid. We saw, didn't we, last weekend at VIR, the guys there, and I think all the IMSA tracks do it now, they have smaller bundles of tyres that they can slot together. The issue is here, you've got 20 or 30 metres of tyres, and this trying to stand each little bit up, and every time they try to stand one bit off, the other bit falls over. And, you know, if this had been several units of tyres, yeah, all right, they might have been scattered, but what they did at VIR is just came in with one of the big forklift trucks and dumped new tyres in and took the ones that had been battered away. And, I mean, the guys are doing the best they can. I'm not at all blaming them. They're pulling from the front, pulling from the back, but that long run of tyres is making it virtually impossible, even with 3 hydraulically operated machines there, to get the tyres stood back up again.
I don't know the answer to this, but is that fairly standard for Formula One venues in Europe? Because picturing it, it seems like that's a pretty common thing, that it's a long, pretty much wall of tires behind almost like a plastic barrier. So it seems to me more European.
Andrew wants to do more carpet.
I want to do tile, actually. I think it is Garage 6A at Silverstone in the old pits. And about
Heritage Pit Lane, love. Heritage Pit Lane, you've got to call it.
Heritage Pit Lane, okay. And McLaren had a sponsor, which was a very upmarket tile company, as you'd expect Ron Dennis to have. And they did a magnificent job on tiling that particular 6A garage. And if you go back there today, it's still there. And it's the only one with a sort of shiny floor. All the rest are concrete and have been painted. I don't know if there's any that have been carpeted, but that one particular garage, that's the place to be if you're racing at Silverstone in what you call, John, the heritage pits, and what I call the proper pits.
Which is where the ELMS are racing out of this weekend, of course, with the split pit being used. I'm indebted to Ian McCarthy, who tells me that that forklift tractor type thing is a telehandle loader.
Sure.
Okay, and we've got 2 of them now at the scene of the fallen tyres.
Just on garage flooring options, particularly at Bathurst, when something goes wrong, if you've got that interlocking nice tile that's temporary, that tends to get torn up when a car comes in on dolly jacks. And that's expensive. You can actively watch the money go out the bank as the tile gets ripped to shreds in manners in which it was not designed to easily lock together. So carpet I like a little bit more, as long as they can slide the car when they need to. But I suppose they're always rolling the car in and out of the garage here on all 4 wheels, so that works a little bit easier. And Barwell, of course, is the other team who always carpets their garage, and it is carpeted here, and I have walked into their garage, so I guess I feel a little bit less bad about tracking dirt on it. Sorry, guys. It's pretty thick.
So it's a bit like a crystal maze problem, isn't it? How do you stand up one bit without the other bit falling over? Apparently it is a 25-minute game from the very moment we throw the full course purple. Out in the distance, Robinson R44 coming into land over the far side of the circuit.
So you're saying it's a Super Nintendo version, or maybe an Atari version of a video game as opposed to an Xbox One or whatnot?
Yeah, I think it's the... I think it's an automatic lock in this game if they don't get it done shortly. Andrew is on the quest to find the best floor. We've already had the Orchid, the Team Orchid floor with the Orchid Racing Team carpet. He's now gone to Barwell, which Shea was just talking about.
I've got Mark Lemmer's come out to talk to us. The Orchid Racing Team have got a carpet, and I thought, oh, they've got something over everybody else, but you've got actually a nicer coloured grey carpet here.
It must be a long code 60 if we're talking about
exactly.
Yes. There is a reason. Everything with Barwell, there's a reason, isn't there? And the reason we carpet the garages front to back is because it's quieter and it's easier on the guys' feet and they get less fatigued. And we do it at Spa and all the big endurance races. So it's not just for show.
No, that's very interesting. Thinking about that, that's very clever. The race is going pretty well for you. This is frustrating now, isn't it? Because we're sort of just in hold.
Yes and no. Obviously, we're throwing away some AM time here, but the reality is actually Leo wants to go and do a stint, and he's bored, and we've all lost tyre temperature, and it looks like it's a bit of a manana with the tyre wall repairs, but yeah, we want to get going, really.
And how do you see the night? It's going to be a big scrap, isn't it, all through the night?
We're obviously locked into a mega battle with Herberth, as we have every year we've done the Barcelona 24 hours. And generally speaking, they've got the better of us before, and they're getting the better of us now in the driver changes. So I've given my boys a bit of a kick. You know, we've got good pace on the circuit. The tyre guys are doing the job, but the driver changes have been a bit tardy.
Now, is that partly to do with the actual construction of the roll cage and how you can get in? Is it just they're big guys, or they just haven't practiced so much?
Look, there's a little bit of that. This crew doesn't always drive together, so some of it's routine. The Lambos, as with all Lambos, it's got a very low roof. That makes the cockpit aperture a bit narrow. But you know, the more you practice, the faster you get, and those guys are slick. I've noticed they've been leaving quite a bit of their belt work to be done as they're going down the pit lane. But fair play to those guys. We've got to up our game with the driver changes, and we'll try and do that as the night goes on.
Herbert's a fascinating team because it's very engineering-led, but they don't have any of this sort of stuff that you have, do they? They don't have any garage dressing at all. They've got a couple of benches and a few computers, and that's all it is. I find it strange that they can be so successful like that.
Look, a lot of the European teams and German teams have that mentality. I think it's all about performance, and to be fair, so do we. I mean, this boarding actually dates back to the BTCC days. Some of this framework's actually 30 years old, but you know, you put a nice little bit of design on it, it doesn't look too bad. So I wouldn't say, you know, all the British G teams at the moment, they're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on shiny everything. We're not. We're a little bit smarter than some of the German teams, but we're still very engineering focused. It's about results. A bit of old boarding will do.
Excellent, Mark. So nice to talk to him. Some great insight there.
Thank you.
Talking of...
he can practice his putting on the floor as well. That's the other thing about that, which is really nice.
Talking of garage furniture, I think it was last night during night practice, John, you and I were watching a screen. In the background, behind an interview, we saw two of the race engineers for one team. I can't remember which one it was now. It might have been the Mark Carr's V8 team. But their engineers were sitting on wheels,
correct,
working their computers.
Wheels and tyres, yeah. They didn't have actual seats.
They didn't have seats, but you know, a perfectly good wheel, a tyre mounted on a wheel made something perfect perfectly soft and good to sit on. The challenge for Sebastian, our cameraman, now is to find out which garage that was and see if they're still sitting on those sitting on those wheel and tyre assemblies. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's one of the beauties, echoing what Mark Lemmer says, one of the beauties of the series is that you get this huge array of different approaches to going car racing, not only in terms of what happens in the pits and the garages, what happens on the track as well.
Greg Sampson has tweeted at RSL_studio and absolutely sums up the situation. He says this tyre wall rebuild is a game of Tetris. Every time they get it all aligned, the whole mess flashes, disappears, and they frustratingly have to start again, which is about the situation. They're doing very good, just inching along, using one of the telehandler loaders to hold the far end, and then it shuffles down a little bit, and then they move another one down, then they tilt up another section, and then the telehandler loader goes to the other end and tries the other end. And we can't be far away now. How long have we been under full course purple now, Paul?
When I went away, but it was 6:33 when we went under full course. Yeah, it's 45 minutes now.
Right.
And just trying to catch up, but we actually had a change of lead whilst that happened as well, didn't we? Because the Dennis Lind, Barwell came in with Dennis Lind and sent Liam Chitsky out.
Did 2 pit stops to make sure they got the full fuel.
Full tank of fuel. And so also did Herbert.
Correct.
And in so doing, they swapped from Daniel Alleman to Ralph Bone. Malicelli is... I'll put this in inverted commas, wasting his time out there at the moment.
Well, that is a very good point.
Although, as I say, it doesn't really waste his time, because it's not as if Malicelli or any of the people in the Scuderia Praha team run to the driver time limitations. They just cycle through their 3 drivers in order. That is the way the team works. So the fact that it was Malicelli's turn just meant that that was his turn, and he got the short straw to get into the car. The GPX car has actually been in once, twice, 3 times, 4 times during that 45 minutes. So the GPX car will have lost some ground as a result. They've got Jean-Pierre Valentini now in the car. Jordan Groger was in the car, but now then they put Jean-Pierre Valentini in to burn some AM time, to use Mark Lemmer's phrase.
Well, and I thought that was a good move, to be honest, in 2 ways, because Leonid Mashitsky hadn't driven at all, so he gets broken in gently, and I think the same for Jean-Pierre Valentini, and also they're not losing any time, as you rightly say. And we've been at Courtois's garage a couple of times. The last time we were down there, they were having a problem with the left front wheel, which they put 17 million foot-pounds of torque into and couldn't get it up. But Core was in the car at that time, so we haven't had a chance to speak to him. Let's put that right now. Andrew Marriott is with the stalwart of endurance racing.
Absolutely. Core's down here. Did you ever get that wheel off, or did you have to take the upright off?
Well, we have to cut the nut this time, so we get it off, but I don't know what happened. It's crazy. It didn't happen in Portimao. In the testing, all went well. Second time we changed wheel, one wheel won't come off. I don't know what to say. We use all sorts of good grease, and we advised by the company who makes the cars, and he's here to advise us, and still bad luck.
Now, obviously, you talked to Jim, and he's been racing a long time, but you've been racing a very long time too, haven't you, Cole? How many? 30-odd years?
Yeah, 39 years. Next year, 40. So I'm getting there.
You had some very good success in your younger days in Formula 3000, I remember, and you came close to a Formula 1 drive, didn't you?
Yes, I basically had a deal with Eddie Jordan, but it didn't went through, because Michael Schumacher came in. But I thought, yeah, well, next time I can drive that car, but we never had the chance after that. So that's this is life.
And you're still winning race. Did I see you won a race in your Lotus a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, we were racing the Lotus in Holland, and that car is still around. We still rake the Marcos cars. We still race the BMW 46 GTR. So we're racing everything we can.
You're still racing the Marcos?
Absolutely. National championship.
Very good. Well, it's great to see Core here. I don't know if we can see it. There's a mini Core down here. I don't know if we can just get in. Just the back of it. Not quite sure where it can you see it in our picture? Maybe not. You're back on board now. But Core is a really good guy, stalwart of Dutch racing, and yes, they're doing. John, I missed that. Yeah. Anyway, Core's gone back into the garage, but he's a guy who's done a huge amount of racing over the years. As I said, he almost got into Formula One with Eddie Jordan, but it was a long time ago.
And Andrew, if you can just get Seb there to pan across to his right from the Mini Core to the two engineers sitting at the back. It was the Core Oyster Garage where Paul and I saw yesterday evening. They don't have stools there. They'd rather bring more kit and stuff like that. So they're actually sitting on wheel and tyre combinations while they're working at the computers at the back right-hand side of the garage, I think.
John, I think we can give you this. Here's
let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. We'll punch it up on the screen as well in a moment or two.
It's a big core with a little core now. Well, a fairly small core with an even smaller core.
That's fantastic in his Rolex overalls as well. And if Seb just goes to the right there, turn him down to the right if you can, and you'll see the two guys. They don't bother bringing extra chairs, Andrew. They're using the seat, the spare wheels.
Excellent.
That's fine for 20 minutes, half an hour. But if you're going to sit for 24 hours on one of those, you've got to make sure you have the pressure absolutely right on the wheel. Otherwise, it will get very uncomfortable.
I think those guys are working. They're in Core's pit, but they're working for the Porsche team that shares the team, the 902, the Webheads team. So they're working for those guys. So brilliant stuff down there in the pit lane, and a degree of cooperation and camaraderie down there in the pit lane, as we see at a lot of the big races where there are more cars than there are pits. We're nearly there, you know. We're nearly there. Give it another hour or so, and we'll be.
Yeah, it's the. The other thing, picking up on what Mark Lemmer was saying, yes, this is burning Leo's time in the car, but Leo is here to race. You know, he doesn't want to sit and drive around for an hour, as it very nearly is. 48 minutes now behind the full course yellow, full course code 60, and he wants to come here and race. And so even though, yes, it's burning the time, it's also depriving Leo of some of his race time, and I'm sure he'll be frustrated at that just as much as everybody else is. So one man doing the repair work, giving a thumbs up to the other, which they all certainly not yet at.
This is a bit of right over to you, Manuel. Right, over to you, Hordy. Yeah, we can do that. It's a very.
It's like that. Do you remember that game you used to play where you used to have a floor tile behind you and you'd stand on one and you had to stand on the floor tile behind you and put it in front of you so you could stand on the. Was that a game you never played?
No.
No. As you say, you had a different childhood to most of us.
Oh yes.
But anyway, they are getting there slowly. And
I love the way the two big machines, the telehandler loaders, are sort of doing holding each end of the barriers here, and then the little machine that runs in between them, like the little Kubota style thing, which now is the way it's running around and lifting tyres, reminds me of Luigi out of cars, because he's running around lifting tyres up. Hey, I'm here. And it's just buzzing around in a very sort of quick and agile way, with the two big ones trying to take the weight of the tyre wall.
For my benefit, John, and anybody who's tuned in within the last 45 minutes and not known what's going on, this was all caused by Harry Hilders, presumably losing it on the exit of turn 4.
And there's a good point, Paul, actually. Thank you for bringing us back to that, because we're getting on for an hour here with this in a few moments' time. Coming out of turn 4, and if the skid marks are anything to go by, he dropped the left-hand Hankooks out of turn 4 onto the edge of the curb, the gravel or the grass, or all of the above. And then the car must have snapped right and speared across the road. Now that's really, really unusual in a front-wheel drive car. And he's banged into the tyre wall, which is a long, uninterrupted run of single-layer tyres, standing 5 or 6 tyres high with the conveyor belt in front of it. And they all fell forward. The car bounced out onto the track quite a long way. So it was an extraordinary thing.
And it was because I saw the car when it was brought back, just as I was having my dinner. Front end damage. So yes, he's gone off there, but he's then gone in with the front end of the car into the barrier and then bounced back onto the track.
Exactly so.
And as I say, the car very heavily damaged, but the team, the Red Camel Jordans.nl team, were down there having a look at the car after it had been brought back to assess the damage, and I wouldn't put it past them that they might actually have a go at putting a repair together. Whether or not that's actually something that's going to be feasible. They were certainly looking at that option when I left after having my dinner, seeing the car being brought back in.
Let's go down to Andrew. We're still a few minutes away, and Andrew can tell us a story, Andrew.
Yeah, well, when we have these long code 6s, we have to look for these stories. I didn't know that Charlie Putnam was a bit of an ace on the guitar. Did you?
I think we've mentioned it before.
Have we mentioned it before? Anyway, just found in the back of the garage his CD here, Charlie Putnam, Right on Track. That's a good name, isn't it? And then here are some of the tracks: Acer Racer, Iron Horse Rodeo, All the Way on the Highway, and Hot Lap Ride. That's another track. Now, I hope that Charlie will be here to talk to me about it. And I was trying to persuade him yesterday that he should be playing at the party at the end of the race meeting, because they're going to have a bit of a prize-giving party. Because I've never seen Charlie on the guitar, but I'm told by other people that he's really good. So maybe we ought to try and get him to get a guitar out and serenade us when we've got these Code 60s going on.
Well, hold up the front of that again, Andrew. If he's got that with him, that's really, I think that looks like a Gretsch. Very nice guitar, which is a
these things.
Semi-acoustic, very nice, hollow body electric guitar. Charlie Putnam, Right on Track, available from all good record stores and some rubbish ones as well.
CP Garrett.
Available for this. Really. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Andrew. Let's check back in and see what's happening at the wall of tyres. Well, it's been a hard task for the track services team, and they've done it very well indeed. Thank goodness. All I can say is now, no blame attached whatsoever to the team who were trying to put this right. But thank goodness this wasn't in the heat of the day, because we would have had cars overheating all over the place. But really, this is a Formula One circuit, and to have 100 metres uninterrupted of tyre wall like that a Seat Leon can bang into, that it takes an hour to get fixed, is not good. Not good at all. And Paul has found Right on Track. It is available at all good record stores, particularly if it starts with an A and ends in Mazon.
And you can get it on MP3 as well. So if you're not
but what are you buying if you buy an MP3?
What
do I put on my shelf? Where's the sleeve notes?
I could try actually doing a little sample, couldn't I? And we could. No, I probably aren't allowed to do that. Anyway, there it is. It's available quite easily, it would seem. Things to find out when you search.
There's quite a lot of drivers who are musical. We were hearing about Eddie Jordan earlier on. He still plays the drums. I think Damon Hill still plays guitar a wee bit as well. Hello to everybody who is here at the track.
Where am I? I've disappeared.
You're sitting there. Look, we can see Paul's knees, which is all a bit worrying. In the booth overlooking the start-finish line. Where's that coming from? That's all the way from over there.
I reckon it might be worth coming in and doing another stop at this point.
Yes.
Just to get a bit more fuel aboard. I suppose the problem is that you're going to then start running into drive time difficulties. Leo Machitsky's just gone through and completed
50
another
minutes.
lap.
51 minutes he's been in the car and he hasn't had a green flag lap yet.
No, 56 minutes of full course yet of Code 60. And yeah, so as you say, Leo has done all of that stint whilst the Code 60 has been out.
And this has massively affected the distance that the guys are running. We'll crunch those numbers in a minute after we've heard from Anne. Not too far away now, Andrew, I don't think.
No, I just want to add Jack Villeneuve, a very good guitarist actually. And of course we've got the rockers who've become racers like Nick Mason and Dave Gilmour, both from the Pink Floyd, Neil Primrose. There's been a lot of them over the years, hasn't there? Andrew Ridgeley, remember him racing in Formula 3? So a lot of big names have enjoyed their motor racing. And going further back, because you know I go way back, obviously Chris Barber raced a Lotus Elite, very successful, great jazz band leader. And another one, Billy Cotton. He raced in ERA and he was one of the top band leaders when my dad was into that sort of thing.
In the first British Grand Prix at Silverstone, wasn't it, Andrew?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Chris Rea, add Chris Rea into that.
Chris Rea, absolutely.
Yeah, he's raced. Mark Knopfler likes cars. I don't know if he's ever
raced.
I think he has raced. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. And then of course you've got the guys like Chris Goodwin have a bit of a band that he plays with sometimes. Oh, no, Chris Hodgetts. Sorry, Chris Hodgetts has a band that he plays with sometimes. I've seen those guys play, and he picks up people from around the paddock.
Oh, who's the guy that teaches a lot of people? The New Zealander.
Oh,
Rob Wilson.
He's got a very good band, hasn't he?
Rob Wilson?
Rob Wilson, that's the one. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Not bad. So hopefully we're going to go back to racing soon and we all get excited again, aren't you? I'm always excited when I'm in the pit lane.
Of course you are, Andrew. Thank you.
I think, I mean, joking aside, the problem for the drivers in this is getting out of that we're all a bit bored and then getting on with motor racing again all of a sudden because the
you get cold.
Mark Lemmer was saying, you know, I don't think you get cold as such, but you know, there is nothing to do when you're driving around at 60 kilometres per hour.
We've missed a really obvious one, particularly with Barwell and the guys from British GT here. What about Rick Parfitt Jr.?
Yeah.
British GT champion. And the Rick Parfitt Jr. band is a great... If you've ever had a chance to go and see him, Rick's been kind enough to let me get up and have a bit of a go with them in a couple of gigs that we've been at or been at. I've got a strong suspicion we're going to be a few more minutes. So let's go to Andrew. Where have you found yourself now, Andrew?
Down
let's
at
get back
the
to motor
Renault
racing.
RS01.
Right.
I'm with Jarno Goston. Well, maybe you're going to get racing soon.
Yes, that's the plan. We had a lot of problems with overheating of the car. So we put in a new engine last night. All the mechanics were ready at 3:30 this morning. So with all enthusiasm we went out and the car was overheating again. So it was not the engine what gave the problem. Now we checked everything again, try to replace as many parts as we think is possible that can help the problem. And we are going out now and try to finish the race.
And when do you think you'll be ready to go out?
About 15-20 minutes we'll be out. So.
Excellent. One of his co-drivers, Mr. Van Loon, and I think is it Eric Van Loon, he has competed in the Dakar Rally 7 or 8 times, and in fact he's been 5th overall. He's basically the best Dutch Dakar racer.
Interesting. Eric Van Loon, you're absolutely right, Andrew, is the #1 driver in that car. It's been sitting in the pits there for very nearly 6 hours out of the 7.5 the race that we've had, and we're told, despite the progress that we can see, at least 10 minutes before we go green again. Let's hope that's a pessimistic at least, and it is hopefully going to be around 10 minutes. Certainly the work seems to have been completed on the barrier now. Whether they need to secure things, that's probably it, because all they've done is to put it vertical. Now they'll have to make sure that it's all secure, I suppose. So at least 10 minutes the screen tells us until we go green again, which will mean that by the time we've gone green again, we'll have been we're just on an hour now since it went code 60. And as I say, for the drivers, a very trying time indeed. But nevertheless, the way that the Creventic operates, I mean, the problem is that there's no point in stopping the race because you then have such a palaver getting it all started again. So in some ways, this is the best way to keep things going. But as I say, with the knowledge that there is at least 10 minutes, I mean, look at someone like Vincent Kolb in the 93 Herbert Porsche. He's been out for 12 laps under this code 60, and okay, you won't use an awful lot of fuel in 12 laps, but there's very little to be lost by coming in under a code 60, getting whatever your full allocation. In Vincent Kolb's case, it is a 45 litres. 45 litres will almost certainly fit in the tank at this point, and that would certainly serve you well and get you going again. Might even put a new set of tyres on, which have been nicely heated up in the oven.
That's what I'd do.
And get warm tyres on at the correct pressures for when it's ready to go green again. Just a thought.
We've lit Twitter up with musicians who raced or racers who were musicians. AC/DC's Brian Johnson from my neck of the woods, originally the lead singer with a little northeast band called Geordie. He's done a bit of racing. Raced at Daytona a couple of years ago in the Highway to Help car, running the number 50 because everybody was over. He's also very active in the vintage scene in the States, Andrew.
I've got one for you. Raced at the Daytona 24, Frank Beard from ZZ Top. Do you know the thing about Frank Beard?
He's the only one of the band who doesn't have one.
Absolutely right.
And in next week's music quiz, we'll have someone else on Andrew's team. That was good stuff. That was good stuff. Right, I think we're nearly ready to go back racing. There's just a last little bit of remedial work on that barrier. There's one vehicle still there. I think they're trying to band some of the tyres again, actually, down there.
Yeah, I can see Jeroen Steenhuis, the race director, is still down there watching events taking place. And they're not going to get underway green again until Jeroen says it's okay to go. And he's standing down there at the scene of the incident. As you say, John, it does frustrate somewhat because we were going so well with so few Grade 6s and we were looking for a mega record distance. But I think it's still within striking range if we get the rest of the race going nicely. Bear in mind that last year's record was set with over 3 hours worth of code 60. And even though we've just had an hour just now, prior to that, we'd had less than 7 minutes. So we've still got enough track time left. But of course, there's an awful lot that could still go wrong in the remaining 16 and a half hours of the race that we have still to go.
Still lovely evening again. Getting a little bit of cloud running in on the far side of the circuit from us to the inland side. We've got just about an hour before sunset. We can see some of the surrounding hills. As I say, a little bit of quite threatening looking cloud in the distance, actually, but I think it's going the opposite way from us. The Zinziger BMW is back in again, and this looks like some work going on in the luggage compartment at the rear. I wonder what's in there. Let's have a look. See if we can see. Sensor maybe for a fuel tank or something like that, Andrew, that's good that they're having a problem with?
Yeah, just
a lot of electrics in there.
Olaf Meyer is sitting in the car. Didn't you get involved with him at Dubai? Did part of our team help push the car or something?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, that's what the team manager just told me.
Oh, well, that was very kind of us.
He said you guys helped us in Dubai.
Well, I'm sure we're a helpful lot. Always a helpful lot.
checking the voltage with the voltage meter, and changing fuses and things like that. That's what they're doing at the back there.
In case you're wondering, Zinziger is a drinks manufacturer. Mineral water, lemonades, and wellness drinks, as they describe them.
Also, I think it's been around a long time, hasn't it? In fact, it was founded in 1853, I can tell you. I can tell you that because it's on the sticker on the car.
It's on the logo, yes.
Yeah. One of their drivers, of course, is Simon Tibbett, the American, who's, I think, has been sending us the odd message, hasn't he?
He has indeed, yeah.
Apparently he's having a bit of a sleep at the moment, so I was going to hope to talk to him, but obviously if this is going to happen in this BMW at any time, this is the best time, but it's seconds are running out, aren't they, for them to fix this?
Well, I wonder if it's also how much it's cause and effect, Andrew, because running around slowly behind the safety car, maybe they've not been generating enough electrical power on board to keep the car running happily, and all of these cars are so full of systems nowadays. As soon as you drop below a certain voltage, things start to go wrong. In has come the Autorama number 112 car. That's the full season entry. Benjamin Lichter has elected to come in and serve a penalty. Now, I realise that we're under full course purple, code 60, but that just means you double the time that you're standing still. So whatever he did earlier on, he's decided that now is the time, or the team did, now is the time to set things right.
And it makes sense to do so, John, because your average speed under green flag conditions is more than double 60 kilometres an hour. So it's something like 140 kilometres an hour for a TCR car, I would think. So it does make sense in a code 60, if you have a penalty to serve it whilst the code 60 is out there, because it is a good use of time. Another car just on its way into the pit lane at the moment is the 902 Webheads Porsche, which was leading the class, started the 991 class on pole position. JM Lippmann has been in the car recently. JM's probably just got fed up and said, I'm coming in. So he has been in. Yes, he took the car over from Tom Dillman just as the code 60 appeared, and JM has been in the car ever since, and he'll be drumming his fingers on the steering wheel as he comes down the pit lane now. But he may, on the other hand, have been listening to us and said, we'll come in and deck that extra fuel as you advised us to.
Let's see if we can grab a few drivers as we're getting ready to go back to green flag full speed racing. Antti Burri was the man who was sitting in the lead of the TCR categories out of his car now, and Andrew will have a word.
Yes, and of course, remember Antti racing so successfully in the UK in Formula Ford, but that was quite a long time ago, Antti.
Yeah, that was quite a few years ago.
So you're one of the stars of TCR now, you've been leading the class here, but that last hour, pretty boring.
Yeah, it was big shunt there, and they have to repair the wall, so that's fine.
So when you're driving around just slowly, what do you think about? Can you check the car at all? Can you do much?
No, you cannot do much. Try to get some fresh air, drink water, keep sharp. That's pretty much it.
And you've obviously got a good chance of victory here. Car good?
Car is good. We need to stay out of the trouble and just survive the night. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. They have to survive the night thanks to Antti Burri.
Perfect timing, Andrew. Under 60 seconds to go in green as Antti trudges off to the back. Everything's been moved from the site of Harry Hilder's accident, and after an hour and 10 minutes, we are back to green flag racing. The 102 Cupra, moving very slowly indeed on the front straight, has pulled over to the right-hand side.
Maybe that he didn't see the green flag. He was coming out of the pit. Was he not coming out of the pit lane?
I'm just trying to work that
I think
out.
He was.
Yeah, it was. So Roy Edland has just come out in the Holmgard Motorsport. Oh, no,
I think he might, because it was code 60 as he came in, he might not have realised that it had gone green.
Was that the Golf? I thought it was the 102 car, but the 102 is a Golf, and I thought that was a
Yes, it was.
A
It's one and out, that.
Okay, super. So, thank goodness for that. We're back to racing for about 45 minutes before the sun goes down. Rain in the air and in the area, but none here at the track. Got a few sprinkles this afternoon. And it's still as it was an hour and 10 minutes ago, of course. The Lamborghini Huracan of Barwell Motorsport with a 30-second lead. And that proves, actually, that Code 60 works because it was a 30-second lead after all the pit stops. That has worked perfectly well. It's Leonid Mashitsky who is driving the number 77 Lamborghini, and he's up against Ralph Bohn in the Herbert Motorsport Porsche in second place.
Yeah, battle of the AMs, really, isn't it?
Very much so.
Leo Machitsky and Ralph Bohn. And as Mark Lemmer was saying just a few moments ago, Lee will be relishing this time of being able to drive the Lamborghini. And it is pretty much now going towards the happy hour in the evening, isn't it? The sun beginning to dip down and the temperatures will begin to cool off. Careful for not just Leo but all of the drivers though to make sure that they don't push things a little bit too early before the tyre pressures and temperatures get back to where they need to be. So across the line he goes, and that lap time from Leo was a 2 minutes 02, so he wasn't quite across the line when they went back to green. I thought he just about crossed the line as the green flag went, but it happened a little bit after he went across the line. And Ralph Bohn's gap back, therefore now is a more accurate one of 22.7 seconds. And you said it was 30, but to check the validity, that was to check what the times of the two pit stops that they did were. And to be fair, the Herbert pit stop was around about 15 seconds quicker, right, which would, under Code 60 conditions, which would be around about a 10-second gain. So yes, from that point of view, the Code 60 did work very well, apart from the fact, of course, it took so long, but what wasn't the Code 60's fault. And I am impressed, I have to say, that the teams managed to keep to the 60 for that length of time, because I know in some other circles of racing where full course caution or full course yellow is an option, race directors don't like doing it for a long period of time because they say that some people's limited speed is different from other people's limited speed, and you get bunches beginning to form. But that didn't really happen during that, so well done, hats off to all of the competitors concerned.
It's very boring for the drivers. Mentally and physically you get cold and you've got to immediately switch it back on again.
Yes, there is a thought that driving behind a safety car is less stressful. I mean, for a long period of time, an hour, like we just did there. Driving behind a safety car for an hour is less stressful than keeping to 60 kilometres an hour is, because there's kind of less to do at 60 kilometres an hour. At least driving behind a safety car, you're following closely to a car in front and you're doing a little bit more speed, so you're actually getting more inputs, more changes of scenery, I suppose. That's what I'm told, anyway. 1:55 on his last lap for Machitsky in the Barwell Hurricane, and a 1:52.0 for Ralph Bohn in the Herbert Porsche. 52.1 from Matteo Malicelli. Would have expected him to be slightly quicker than that on his first flying lap. But again, maybe just wanting to make sure that everything is okay with the Ferrari before he pushes on.
And also that car is very, very sensitive to how you bring the tyres up. And pushing too early and too hard too early particularly really hurts the performance of that car. And I don't know why it should particularly be the Ferrari, or indeed the Scuderia Praha version of the Ferrari. So.
No, the only thing that I'm told about that Ferrari is that it runs very, very lean to get the maximum out of the fuel. They do run it extremely lean on the fuel. But that shouldn't affect the way the tyres come in, except I suppose possibly that it affects the way the power is delivered.
Good point.
They're limited as to how much turbo boost they can use, but that turbo boost enables Matteo to make these demon starts that we've seen him do, but can also wreak havoc with the tyres, as you say, as they play them in at the beginning of a stint.
Porsche 978 has Dominique Bastien behind the wheel, 4th in 991 category. Last lap for the leader.
Well, I was really pointing at the Matteo Malicelli one, 1:48.884, which is half a second slower than the fastest lap of the race, or the fastest lap for the Ferrari at least. Matteo, whatever he was doing on the first lap, was dialing himself in, because suddenly his second flying lap was an absolute demon one, 2 seconds faster than anybody else, 5 seconds faster than Leonid Mr. Machitsky, as our screen tells us.
I thought it might have meant that he'd been tuned by Manthey Racing. Leonid M.R. Machitsky. The gap between first and second down to 16, call it 17 seconds, as Ralph Bourne charges towards the leader. Took about a second and a half out of him, or no, more than that, 3 seconds last time around. Now remember, Leo Machitsky has been in the car for about an hour and 11 minutes, and these are his first green flag laps, just as the light is beginning to fade. Nice to be able to get into a rhythm in this transition period. We're 40 minutes away from official sunset. Depending on how the cloud is, we should be able to get a bit more daylight after that. Now, I think I heard Andrew say that he was with Ricky Coomber.
Absolutely right. Looking glorious in orange, Ricky. I've never seen you in orange before.
Well, I'm in a Dutch team now, and so I've got to go orange, and so otherwise I won't blend in with the others.
Absolutely. How are you enjoying racing this car? Obviously, I had a problem with the wheel stuck on, but it's a bit different to what you normally drive.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's a good team, so yeah. Well, we've had a few problems.